Pine, it's the wood we all start out with when we begin woodworking. It's readily available, easy to work with, and just, a good wood to start out with. But when you get a little bit more experience, you realize it's not the best wood to work with, and it has some issues. Well, in this video, I'm going to show you 3 alternative woods to pine that every beginner should know. So what are the issues with pine? Well, pine, from my experience, has been kind of a utility wood. So if I need to build something real quick, I'll use pine. And it's also a wood that I'll use for rustic kind of projects. And that's mainly because it mostly has knots in it. The stuff you see at the big stores almost always has knots in it. And so you got to pick out a project where those knots kind of complement it, and that's rustic stuff. It has an issue with stain. It doesn't take stain that well. You can stain it, but you really got to seal it up, and you got to seal the end grain. The end grain will get real dark if you're not careful. You'll get kind of dark spots around the knots and stuff, and it just doesn't stain very well. So when you want to go and kind of get to a more refined project, there's better woods out there than pine to use. And these woods that I'm about to show you have been woods that I have used throughout my years, and I've come to rely on them instead of pine for different reasons. The first wood is poplar. Poplar is a wood that I'll use for kind of utilitarian purposes like shop fixtures, the insides of cabinets. If it's a painted finish, I'll use it for the whole project because it's a really smooth cutting wood. It's not overly hard like oak, so it's easy to cut, it's easy to sand, it's easy to router. It's just a really good, consistent wood. It just doesn't take stain very well, and that's mainly because a lot of it is this green wood here, this green heartwood. It's pretty typical of poplar to have this green tint to it, although you can find some of it with the creamy color and you won't see much of the green. But however, I mean, it stains okay. It just doesn't have a really, really good look to it. So I mainly use this for utility and for painted finishes, and for just an all-around kind of wood to use. The second wood I would suggest instead of pine is basswood. And I don't have a sample of the basswood. I've used it all up in my previous business. But I used to use this for making frames. Basswood is a really good carving wood, and it also mills really, really well. It's a lightweight wood, but it's got a very consistent grain to it, and that's something that the pine doesn't really have. It can kind of have kind of an inconsistent grain that can kind of split at times. But basswood is a very, very consistent wood. So I use it for carved details and painted finishes. This finish here is an actual gold leaf finish, 22 karat gold. So any kind of a painted finish, basswood is really good for. And it's also, it's pretty sturdy. So when you connect it up like this miter, the miter will glue up real nice and it'll hold real nice. A screw, if you want to sink a screw into it, it holds screws and nails really well. So it's a really good finish if you want carved finishes and if you want to have, or highly milled finish or a painted finish. Basswood is really good to use. The third wood I would suggest instead of pine This is a wood that I just started using. This kind of alder I just started using a week ago, clear alder, but I've used the knotty alder in the past. Use knotty alder if you want the rustic finish that pine gives you, but it's just a better looking wood all the way around. The knots are better looking than pine. The grain is better looking than pine. So if you want that knotty look, use the knotty alder. But this is something that I just started using a week ago, is the clear alder. And this has very little knots, a little knot there, but it's a real clear, consistent grain. Real beautiful wood, although it's not overpowering like an oak or something would be. It's more of a grain like a maple. But I like this finish I like this wood because it's real easy to mill. It's a softer wood. It's a hardwood, but it's a softer hardwood. It's about the same consistency as the poplar. So it's real easy to cut. It's real easy to plane. And for the project I was using, I needed to route it, and it routes pretty easy. The only thing you got to worry about with this is it splits a little bit. It's kind of chippy. So you got to be careful about your end grain and all that. But if you're careful, it's a really, really good wood to use. And it takes stain and oil finish really well. I used an oil finish, and it brought out an polyurethane finish, and it brought out the grain really, really nice. Something that if it was built out of pine, it would not have looked near as good. So it's a really good wood, and I think it's a wood that not many people use, and it's a really good looking wood, and I'd highly suggest it. Now, all of these woods are not very expensive, and you can get some at the big box store like poplar and the pine, but if you go to your local lumber yard and they carry it, a lot of times it's a lot cheaper at a lumber yard. And you can get custom milling at a lumber yard. They'll mill it down to thickness, and they'll put a straight cut down one of the edges called straight lining. And so you can get better deals. And all of these woods are comparable to the price of pine, at least the price of pine at a big box store. So I would definitely suggest these three woods instead of pine. Although I do use pine for certain things, but I've used these three other woods for most of my woodworking career, and usually go to them first. So if you like this video, please like or subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video. Thank you for watching.